Hello, this video is a compilation of all my other horror movie suggestion videos, and I added chapters in case you want to skip. Some are a little lighthearted, kind of a comedy horror type, and some are pretty scary, at least to me. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy.
I'd like some makeup.
Well, you don't get any. All right. Are we ready to begin?
Hello and welcome to my channel, The Quiet One, where we talk about entertainment and movies, especially horror movies. And today I'm going to tell you why you need to watch Shadow of the Vampire. Shadow of the Vampire is a 2000 horror film starring John Malkovich and William Dafoe. It's a fictionalized account of the making of the classic vampire film Nosferatu, directed by F.W. Murnau. It was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Makeup. For his performance, Dafoe was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. In 1921, German director F.W. Murnau, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, is shooting Nosferatu, an unauthorized version of Bram Stoker's novel Dracula. Murnau keeps his team in the dark about their schedule, and the actor playing the vampire, Count Orlok, is left to the film's other main actor to explain that the lead is an obscure German theater performer named Max Schreck, who is a character actor. To involve himself fully in his role, Schreck will only appear amongst the cast and crew in makeup and will only be filmed at night, and he will never break character. The film was produced by Nicolas Cage's Saturn Films. Cage originally intended to play Schreck, but later cast Dafoe when he expressed interest in the role. Cage stated he always wanted Malkovich to play Murnau. Can you imagine Nicolas Cage as a vampire? Be kinda interesting. Producer Cage had previously acted with Malkovich and Dafoe in Con Air from 1997 and Wild at Heart, 1990. To create the aesthetic of old film, the cinematographer shot much of the film with Kodak Vision 800T film stock, a high-speed specialty stock with very coarse grain in Super 35mm format, which further enhanced the effect when cropped and enlarged to anamorphic. One of my favorite quotes from this, and I'm going to use this next time someone steps in front of something I want to take a picture of. When F.W. Murnau is filming something, this woman comes in and just disrupts the whole thing. So he yells, "A native has wandered into my frame." I'm going to say that every time someone gets in the way of my shot, I'm going to say it. And can we just take a moment to appreciate Willem Dafoe's face? Look at it. I love his face. Awesome for this. Now, it's not a necessity to watch the original Nosferatu from 1922, but if you have seen that, I think you're going to enjoy this movie more. You can always watch the original after this one. It doesn't matter. You will understand the movie without ever seeing Nosferatu. I mean, that's for sure. But I think those who have seen the movie will get more of a kick out of this. A lot of the shots are recreated, but I do recommend you watch Nosferatu because it is honestly, to me, the best vampire film that I have ever seen, because he is not dashing and handsome like Bela Lugosi in Dracula. Now, don't get me wrong now, I do love Bela Lugosi in the 1931's version of Dracula. Nosferatu was really interesting because in real life, you really couldn't get the rights to the story from the estate of Bram Stoker. So Murnau was like, you know what, I'm just going to change up a few things. He changed the name from Dracula to Nosferatu, and the name of Dracula to Count Orlok. When there's a will, there's a way, right? He wanted that story, he was going to get it. German ingenuity. And it's a really awesome cast featuring Eddie Izzard and Cary Elwes from The Princess Bride. He's done other things, but we all know him from The Princess Bride. So I really appreciate you watching my video. I hope you enjoy the movie if you happen to see it. If you have seen it, please let me know down in the comments what you thought of it. And if you're feeling, generous, please like and subscribe to my channel if you like my content. I like to offer movie suggestions, especially horror movie suggestions, because I love horror. I love a lot of stuff, but horror is my thing. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye.
This clipped girl. I'll eat her later.
You need to watch Freaks from 1932 by Todd Browning. Thank you very much for visiting my channel where we talk about entertainment and movies, especially horror movies. It's my favorite. And today I'm suggesting you watch Freaks, directed by Todd Browning. He directed 1931's Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, which I also suggest you watch. The cast consists of people who were really in sideshows and freak shows, people who were born with abnormalities or had accidents, mental disabilities. I'm not saying it was right, but unfortunately back then, that was the only option they had for income. The story revolves around a dwarf named Hans who falls in love with a trapeze artist, Cleopatra, and he's just too far in love to see that maybe she could be using him. Others warn him, but he has to learn on his own, I suppose. One of the things I do love about this movie is the fashion, and I'm not a fashion person, but look at that dress. I just love it so much. Everything is so pretty and elegant and flowy, and the men are dressed so handsomely. It was a different time. I do love the fashion of that. And one of the things I do love too is Frida. She's so sassy. I love her. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the cast of the movie. There's actually a lot of people in this movie, and a lot of people that were kind of in the background, that they didn't have a big scene. They didn't have a big role in this movie, so I'm just going to mention a few. We have Harry Earls playing Hans and Daisy Earls playing Frida. And we have Daisy and Violet Hilton, who were conjoined twins. They were called Siamese twins in the movie, as all conjoined twins were called back then. The reason conjoined twins were called Siamese twins is because back in the day, Chang and Eng Bunker were Siamese twins that were conjoined. I guess that's how people thought back then. And we have Prince Randian, called the Living Torso. Some of his cool tricks included rolling his own cigarettes and lighting his own cigarettes. He was very independent. And we have Olga Roderick, who was the bearded lady. Now, I've always read that she didn't seem too happy to be part of this movie. Like, it looked like she was done with everyone's shit. I mean, that's her expression. I mean, it's kind of my expression too, so I can't say anything. I'm not judging. I'm just saying it looks like she's ready for this to be done. And last but not least, we have Schlitzie, who I think is everyone's favorite. Schlitzie suffered from the condition microcephaly. He was usually dressed in women's dresses and had these weird hairstyles. And there's this one scene during the One of Us scene where they're all on the table chanting One of Us to Cleopatra, and they all take a sip out of the loving cup. So the guy walks up to Schlitzie and he lets him drink out of it, and when he pulls it away, he makes a little bit of a mess, and Schlitzie's like, man, it's all over the place. And he starts cleaning everything up. He looks annoyed. I love that scene though. Even if you don't like horror movies and you don't like black and whites, you don't like classic movies, this is still a great movie to watch. It is so fun. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you watch the movie, and if you do, please let me know your thoughts. I really love it, but yeah, no, that's just me. And if you like my content, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to see my future uploads. Every single one of those means so much to me and my humble little channel. Thank you so much for watching.
Abracadabra, I sit on his knee. Presto, changeo, and now he is me. Hocus pocus, we take her to bed. Magic is free. We're dead.
Josephine Levine presents Magic, a terrifying love story, starring Anthony Hopkins, Anne Margaret, and Burgess Meredith. Rated R.
And you're very welcome for the creepy-ass intro. Welcome to The Quiet One, where we talk about entertainment and movies, especially horror movies, because that is my favorite. Actually, that ad terrified a lot of children, and people complained. You need to watch Magic, 1978 psychological horror film starring Anthony Hopkins. After Charles Corky Withers, Anthony Hopkins, fails in his first attempt at professional magic, his mentor Merlin, E.J. Andre, says that he needs to have a better gimmick. A year later, Corky comes back as a combination magician and ventriloquist with a foul-mouthed dummy named Fats, and he becomes a huge success.
You do magic too?
Corky's agent, Ben Green, played by Burgess Meredith, who also played the Penguin back in the day on the TV series Batman, is gearing up for Corky to have his own television show. Ben even got an executive at NBC, Toddson, to see Corky's act, and he is very impressed. And Toddson is played by David Ogden Stiers. You may know him as Charles Emerson Winchester III from MASH. I always liked him. I mean, he was kind of stuck up and pretentious, but he had a point. Everybody was an idiot, so, not his fault. But Corky freaks out and runs to the Catskills where he spent his childhood. Ben thinks that Corky is just afraid of success and he's trying to convince him, but in actuality, Corky does not want to take the TV network's required medical examination because the doctors might find out that he suffers from severe mental issues. So much so that even offstage, he cannot control Fats. So is Fats a manifestation of Corky's personalities, or is Fats actually crazy? A crazy diabolical puppet. You just got to watch to figure that out because I do spoiler-free suggestions, and I really hope you watch it. It's really good. So anyway, back at home, Corky reunites with his high school crush, Peggy Ann Snow, played by Anne Margaret. She is stuck in a passionless marriage with Duke, played by Ed Lautner, who is Corky's friend from high school.
Oh, please don't kill her.
So the first time I watched this, I came into this movie expecting a Child's Play scenario, but this is definitely a psychological thriller. A true fan will really enjoy the intellectual part of it, the psychological part of it, and if you're just a horror fan in general, you're going to really appreciate the fact that there's a creepy-ass ventriloquist dummy with a huge head and eerily realistic teeth. Ew. And he encourages Corky to commit some pretty heinous acts.
Discussion's over, that's all.
I want out of here! Simmer the hell down! Just because... Watch it, mister! Just because some... You've been warned! Just because some sagging bitch of an original drops her pants for you! Shut up! Corky, you do it so good! You ain't better than the garbage man! Ah!
I also love watching this because this is the youngest I personally have ever seen Anthony Hopkins act. I mean, he looks like a baby. Look at him. And you probably know Anthony Hopkins best as Dr. Hannibal Lecter from The Silence of the Lambs. He was insane, and he killed people, and he ate them. But honestly, the scarier villain to me in that movie was Buffalo Bill, because he tortured women and used their skin as dresses. A little insane. So you've got to watch this movie. You've got to watch Magic from 1978. If you do, please tell me what you think. I really hope you like it as much as I did. This is my type of horror movie. I like psychological stuff especially. And I do remember reading a story about Anthony Hopkins taking Fats the ventriloquist dummy home while filming this movie to practice. And he told somebody in the middle of the night, you got to get this thing out of my house. It's freaking me out. So even Anthony Hopkins got freaked out by this ventriloquist dummy, which I don't blame him. I mean, he is a little unsettling. So I appreciate you watching my video, and my humble little channel appreciates every single like and comment and subscribe and share. I mean, it means so much to me. I'm trying so hard to build my channel, and you guys are helping me out so much. I appreciate it so much. So thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye. You need to watch Dead Snow, a 2009 Norwegian horror comedy, and Dead Snow 2, Red vs. Dead, 2014. I try to do spoiler-free movie suggestions as much as possible, so I'm not going to include every single detail, because you got to watch the movie yourself. Hello and welcome to The Quiet One, where we talk about entertainment and movies, especially horror movies, because that's my thing. So in Dead Snow, we have a group of students spending some vacation time in the cabin in the woods, as usual. An older man shows up and he starts talking about World War II and the Nazi invaders. Well, eventually the Nazis become zombies and they start hunting the kids in the cabin in the woods. This is it's kind of along the lines of Evil Dead, because there is some goofiness to this, and kind of along the lines of Shaun of the Dead, but Shaun of the Dead was really more of a comedy to me. In Dead Snow, there's a lot more blood and guts than Shaun of the Dead. This is more of a typical zombie movie. And like Evil Dead, there's a chainsaw involved. So, you know, going into this, it's going to be kind of goofy because it's about zombie Nazis. And it's also pretty brutal because it's about zombie Nazis. It's subtitled, the one that I watched. I don't know if they have any dubs out there. So do keep that in mind if you really hate reading while watching a movie. I personally like it. I like hearing their, their language is interesting to me. Now, Dead Snow 2, Red vs. Dead, is in English, and it's a little more goofy, it's a little more out there. You don't have to watch the first one in order to get the second one, but I do suggest it only because there's going to be some references in the second one that you may get from flashbacks in it, but it's always more fun to watch the first one than the second one. So the plot of the second one, Dead Snow, Red vs. Dead, a man seeks the aid of a group of American zombie enthusiasts and discover new techniques for fighting the zombies. This one, like I said, is a little more out there, as crazy as that seems. I think both are really great in their own right. I think I almost like the second one better, only because it's more campy. I really don't want to give anything away, so you are going to have to watch it, and you have to tell me what you think. And one of the guys in here, actually, I thought for a split second, is that Flake from Rammstein? It's not. He just looks like him. And if you don't know who Rammstein is, they are an awesome German rock band. I never had the chance to see their concerts, but they are really awesome for what I've seen. And these guys are like 60 years old, but I'd still go see them in concert. There's a lot more action in the second one, too. A lot more people, a lot more, Nazi zombie fighting. So if you have seen this or you decide to see it because of my video, please let me know down in the comments. This is such a fun movie. I think you'll like it. Like I said, if you like Evil Dead, if you appreciate Shaun of the Dead, I do think you will like this. And right before the credits, There's a scene that will make you laugh and cringe at the same time. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, watch the movie. So I hope you like these movies, Dead Snow and Dead Snow 2, Red vs. Dead. It is so fun. I love his laugh. I love Chucky's laugh. Okay, so today is going to be a movie suggestion, which I didn't figure I would do only because so many people know who Chucky is. There's a TV series out now. He's had about 16 sequels to the original. Not really, but there have been quite a few sequels to the original Child's Play. So I'm not going to go into every detail of the movie and the sequels because you may already know. And if you don't, there's plenty of places for you to look up some information about Child's Play and Chucky and all that franchise there. So I'm just going to give a little bit of my opinion, some of my favorite scenes, and just talk about it. You need to watch Child's Play, the movie from 1988 or Bride of Chucky. Either way, this movie is not for kids. Yeah, duh. So please don't get mad at me if your child watches this and has nightmares. Chucky has starred in the best killer doll movies. Not all of them, we won't talk about this. We'll talk about others, like Bride of Chucky, my personal favorite, starring Jennifer Tilly as well. Even the cinematography is beautiful. I love it. So here's the plot line from the first movie. The doll only became sentient after the soul of a criminal, Charles Lee Ray, inhabited the doll. In the beginning of the movie, we see that Charles is chased by a cop after being shot after a botched robbery. But Charles makes his way into a toy store where the good guy dolls are abundant, and he decides, you know what, I'm doing this.
Oh God, I'm dying. You hear that, you son of a bitch? I'm gonna get you for it, no matter what!
After some blood loss and collapsing to a heaping pile of good guy dolls, he realizes, I can transfer my soul into this doll. Let's do it. And through the power of voodoo, he successfully transfers his soul into that of the good guy doll. So Charles Lee Ray dies, and his soul lives on in the Chucky doll. And Chucky is voiced by and played by Brad Dourif. He is an awesome actor. He's been in so many movies and TV series. So the next few movies does involve Chucky, or Charles Lee Ray, trying to get his soul into the body of another person, namely a child. But let's talk about something. He is a doll. He is small. He's carrying a ruler right here. Kick that mofo across the room. Look at him. He's tiny.
Talk. I said talk to me, damn it! All right. Make you talk. I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch! What did you
Woman, are you saying you got overpowered by a doll? He is doll. He is small. Kick him across the room. What did I say? I like how Chucky gets up and then just turns around and runs away like, nope. In the 1990 sequel, Child's Play 2, Andy has made his way into a foster care home, and this is his older foster sister. And they are in a doll manufacturing plant where he is once again being chased down by the deadly doll. It's pretty scary in some ways.
I'm gonna kill you, Andy!
I mean, that is kind of freaky no matter what. I do find it funny that this kid has seen so much, but this bothers him. Like, woo. Finally, someone kicks him. Someone listens to me. So I know the whole evil doll thing is kind of an acquired taste. I understand because I'm frankly tired of the whole evil doll genre myself. But Chucky's different. Child's Play's different. Brad Dourif Chucky, awesome all the way. And so if I have to suggest one for you, I guess you gotta watch the first one from 1988, Child's Play, and then I would just frankly skip on to Bride of Chucky because it's awesome, it's great, it's hilarious. It plays upon itself of being goofy and just out there. They don't even care anymore. Plus it plays a couple of Rob Zombie songs too, so there's that.
You thought?
You need to watch the 1993 psychological thriller, The Good Son, starring Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood. The story revolves around Mark, who is a little boy played by Elijah Wood, and he recently lost his mother, leaving just him and his father. When his father has to leave town for a business trip, Mark is sent to live with his aunt and uncle, and he meets his cousin, Henry. Henry is an odd boy. You can tell that he is maybe lacking some friends and is an odd child, but there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I was the same and I turned out fine. But there's obviously something wrong with Henry, and Mark is really the only one who sees it. I will warn you, there is a depiction of harming an animal, but it is fake. Just remember, it's an actor dog. Not real, the dog is fine. Having said that, I did just watch it today to give this movie suggestion, and I still fast forward through it, so just putting that out there. That is actually the first thing that we see him do that we know for sure, okay, this is an evil child. Mark eventually finds out that the family had a little infant that accidentally drowned in the bathtub. So you can kind of see where this is going. So there's a lot of awful things in this movie, but having said that, I think this is a really good movie. Unfortunately, I think we can all think of some child we knew growing up who had at least one of these things going on with him. Hopefully he didn't actually turn out evil. But there are a lot of times that people see this happening in a child. Maybe he's just disturbed and needs some help, and the parents are just like, "No, man, he's my child. I love him. He didn't do or say anything wrong." Well, you know, sometimes they do, and that's why we end up with serial killers. You know, the mother's in denial. They don't want to believe that their child is a psycho killer. I would suggest you watch this if you do just in general find kids creepy, but these kids, they really took on a mature role. Macaulay Culkin has always seemed more mature to me than just the typical child. Like, he seemed like an older adult in an 8-year-old's body. He just didn't seem very childlike. And, you know, you got Elijah Wood, who is just, you know, this big-eyed little, looks like a little doll there. But they fit their roles very well. I mean, Macaulay Culkin really gives you the idea, yeah, this is a little kid, but you know what? There's something creepy about him. He plays that role really well. And of course he smokes, so you know that's a warning right there. He just hides his cigarettes in a well in the cemetery. You know, normal kid stuff, right? One thing that bothered me, the first thing that bothered me, and this happened very early in the movie. These kids, Henry and Mark, they're climbing up this tall tree to a tree house at the very top. I mean, it's way off the ground. And these kids are climbing up just boards nailed to the tree. Now you're telling me you parents suck. You put your kids at risk. They could fall and kill themselves. Obviously, you know, Henry can fall and kill himself. That's not my problem. He can go. But the others can really get hurt. That's bad parenting right there. So I do suggest you watch this movie. I really don't want to give anything away, but this is to me, it's a good movie. I'm not saying it's perfect, but if you have not seen The Good Son, I highly recommend that you do. At least in the early 90s, there was a lot of parodies of this, only because of how it ends. Without giving anything away, let me know what you felt about this movie in the comments if you have seen it. If you have not seen it and you decide to watch it after my suggestion, please let me know how you felt about it. I thought this was really great, and these kids, I keep saying kids because they're like in their 40s now. They're older than me, but I still see them as, you know, Kevin from Home Alone, and, you know, Elijah Wood always looked young, but I see Elijah Wood as Frodo now. No matter what movie he does or will ever do, he's Frodo. Little creepy things here and there, because Henry is really good at gaslighting people, and he's really good at manipulation. Don't put that past kids. Kids are smart. They know how to get what they want. I'm not saying they're all evil like Henry, but they're smarter than you give them credit for. He knows how to play people. He knows how to blackmail Mark. He's like, well, if you tell him that we did something wrong, I'll just tell him you forced me. They're going to believe me. I'm their son. Because his dad is off, you know, on business, and it's just him in this house. And you have this child that's threatening to kill you. And these, like I said, these kids took on some very adult roles. They took on some very adult topics here in this movie. Mark loses his mother early on. Then you have Macaulay Culkin, who just plays Psycho really well. I'm sure he's a decent person in real life. I like Macaulay Culkin. I'm just saying, man, for a kid, he just pulled this off. I don't know of a lot of adults who could pull this off. There's something about him, man, that's just, like, he would creep me out. So I hope you enjoyed my suggestion. I try not to give too much away. And if you like my content, please like and subscribe so you can watch all my future uploads. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. So enjoy this movie. Have a good day. Bye.
If I let you go, you think you could fly?
Oh, hell no. I will hit a child.
Hello and welcome. This video is going to be all about the evolution of Art the Clown. Terrifier 2 has become one of my personal favorite movies in general, especially horror movie, especially comedy, because there's a lot of comedy involved. Now, I love horror movies. I have watched them since I was a kid, probably watched a lot of movies I really shouldn't have, but that's okay. You know, I turned out fine. And I do not like blood and guts in torture movies. Having said that, yes, Terrifier, and Art the Clown is still one of my favorite characters, even though I don't like the gross stuff. You know, it's just my opinion, don't come at me, bro.
Oh, God!
Come at me, bro!
And I'm going to explain a little bit about the story of Terrifier 2 without giving it away, so it's spoiler free. I have included timestamps, so if you want to skip ahead to something, please look at the timestamps, see where you want to go, and I got it all set up for you. I'm sure you've heard of Art the Clown, or you've probably seen the memes, probably seen some things with bleach and salt, and that does come into play in Terrifier 2. So if you have the idea that he's a serial killing clown, well, you're right, but there's much more to it. And so if you are also unsure if this movie is for you, if you do like horror,
I don't know if I like it.
I'm going to explain why I like it in spite of that. And honestly, this probably has more blood in one scene than the elevator scene in The Shining. Art the Clown was actually featured in other movies before Terrifier 2 and before Terrifier, so we're going to start from the beginning. He was actually featured in a short called The Ninth Circle from 2008, directed by Damien Leone. This is actually the first showing of Art, and he looks very different in this version. He actually looks a little more like Crazy Joe Davola from Seinfeld than the Art the Clown we know nowadays. I'm just going to give you the gist for the short. A woman is drugged and kidnapped by Art the Clown while waiting for a train. When she awakens, she finds 2 other women held captive. Now, some things happen. I'll skip to the end. She's eventually surrounded by hooded people, and I'm not going to go into detail, but it's obvious that she's going to be violated by Satan.
That's pretty dark, yeah. That's dark. Yeah, it's pretty dark. You know.
So yeah, that's the short. There you go. Now, the first movie I saw Art in was in All Hallows Eve from 2013, and it's really a combination of different short stories combined to make this one film. It starts out, there's a woman babysitting a boy and a girl, 11-ish years or so of age, and the boy mentions that someone left a VHS tape in his bag when they went trick-or-treating. And against her better judgment, she allows the kids to watch a movie with her as long as she's there. The first episode is actually The Ninth Circle, and after that, she sends the kids to bed, but she watches the movie by herself, which I'm sure she regrets. There's a couple other stories. One woman is being harassed in her home by an alien, which is actually kind of goofy, but I have this irrational fear of aliens that kind of struck a chord with me, so there were some scary parts in there for me anyway. The third story is about a costume designer who has a run-in with Art. And, I always wonder why the clown looked different in the beginning of the movie as compared to later on, because, that's his very first appearance. That was years apart. And then later on, he looks similar to the Art that we see in Terrifier 2 with the protruding cheekbones and the big hook nose. Now, the ending does have a little bit of a surprise, only because I didn't expect it to involve kids like they do. I'm trying not to give too much away, but you don't usually see kids affected like that in horror movies. But just remember, everybody's fine. They're all actors. Everybody's okay. But also, it's a little different because a different actor portrayed Art. David Howard Thornton plays Art in Terrifier and Terrifier 2, and I'm not saying that the other guy who played Art in the other movies did anything bad. I mean, it's just David Howard Thornton's really good. Okay, now we'll move on to Terrifier 2016, directed by Damien Leone. It starts out, there's a small retro TV on the floor, and on the screen we see a reporter conducting an apparent interview with a woman with a facial disfigurement, a severe facial disfigurement.
You think so?
She's lost the flesh on her face and only has one eye, her nose is missing, and her lips appear to be gone. Now, watching this, the first thing my mind went to was chimpanzee attacks. Now, back when I was a kid, and I don't know, it seemed to happen a lot when I was a kid, but I think it just happened once, and maybe I just remember it so vividly.
Lousy traumatic childhood.
I've learned that chimps will eat the faces of their victim. I know that's creepy, and I'm sorry, but that's what this reminded me of. So anyway, we see someone walking up to the TV. We can't see who it is, but he's wearing big clown shoes, so yeah, that's probably Art. After the reporter asks the disfigured woman if she thinks the murderer, who also attacked her, known as Art the Clown, is alive or dead. And the woman says he's dead because she saw the body. Then we see him kick the TV screen and it shuts down. Something I've learned about Art is that he gets very upset if people think he's dead. Now we see him sitting at a table applying makeup, clown makeup, obviously. And the scene is spliced together with clips of Art assembling his nasty, rusty weapons made from blades and jagged metals and scalpels. God, the scalpels, that's just awful. Especially when he makes a whip out of them. My God, that's terrible. So the scene now takes us to the reporter after the interview in her dressing room. She's on the phone talking, and she thinks she hears someone in her wardrobe. So she hangs up and goes to investigate, and eventually she is attacked by the disfigured woman. Obviously, I can't show much. Again, YouTube will get me. But I will tell you, she's pretty messed up. Now, by the way, the woman who plays the reporter also played the babysitter in All Hallows Eve. It's not the same character, but the same actress, so that's a little Easter egg for you there.
I don't know, to learn something?
You learned something.
Now we're introduced to Dawn and Tara. Tara's the dark-haired one, Dawn's the blonde one. And they're walking home from a Halloween party. Tara is wearing a skeleton-like costume, and Dawn is wearing a scarecrow costume. And what's funny is in the ninth circle, there's also a girl in there for just a minute or two. She's also dressed as a scarecrow. And in Terrifier 2, a little girl comes up trick-or-treating dressed like a scarecrow.
And if you only had a brain.
Then they spot a man in a black and white Victorian clown outfit holding a big garbage bag over his shoulder. So this obviously alarms Tara. Dawn isn't really too bothered by it. She actually yells at the guy, "Hey, my friend wants your number." And so Tara yells, "Sorry, she's drunk," but as she looks up, the clown has disappeared. So since the two women are too drunk to drive, they decide to eat at a nearby diner. As they both sit down, Art the Clown comes in with his big plastic bag and sits down at a table across from the friends. And he just stares at Tara, just her, and eventually starts making funny faces and gives this incredibly creepy black smile. He stares at her and only her, no matter what. Even her friend Dawn gets up and sits on his lap and takes a selfie. He doesn't even look at Dawn until she pulls his hat down and it flies back into his face. Then he looks at her. Well, eventually, Art buys Tara a ring from a gumball machine, using the change left for a tip on another table, but it's the thought that counts, right? I mean, that's kind of sweet. Eventually, Art is tossed out by the diner staff for smearing his own excrement on the bathroom wall. That's his thing, that's what Art does, he does it again, he writes his name in his mess. Dawn and Tara make their way back to the car, only to discover that the car has a flat tire. And Tara suggests that maybe the creepy guy slashed her tires, because honestly, that's what I would think too, but I'm also paranoid. Tara uses Dawn's phone to call her sister Victoria to come pick them up. In the meantime, Tara has to use the restroom, and instead of just, popping a squat, as she says, in the alleyway, she decides to ask a custodian who is outside smoking if she can use the facilities.
Or spend 6 months in a correctional facility.
And so it turns out the restroom is nastier than the alleyway. She's just stuck with the alleyway, but she's inside the building now. So the guy leads her to the bathroom, but says, "You can find your own way out, right?" And she goes, "Yeah, I can figure it out." Well, eventually we run into this woman called the Cat Lady in the credits. She doesn't have cats. We see her with one cat. That does not equate a cat lady. But she does have a doll she treats like her child, so they probably could have called her the doll lady. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Eventually, the two friends are separated, and again, I can't go into detail because of YouTube standards, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. When I say the scene from Terrifier, you know what I'm saying if you've seen it. Now, if you haven't seen it, but wondering what I'm talking about, I will put up this illustration here, except Patrick actually has clothes on. He grabs a rusty hacksaw, and that's all I can say. That's all I can say about that. So Dawn is gone. She split. She hung around too long. She was torn. I'm sorry. It's not funny. I'll stop. It's not funny. Kind of giving you the gist of the fate of these women here. So again, spoilers. Dawn is dead. Tara is dead. The cat lady is dead. And Victoria is still fighting for her life, trying to escape Art. Now there is a scene eventually where Victoria stabs Art in the eye with something, and she gets away from him. This was after he attacked the custodian. There's another guy that shows up too, but it's not necessary to the story, so I'll skip him. I'm sorry. But there is a scene where Victoria gets this one area, and Art just takes out this little horn and just starts aggressively honking it at her.
Leave me alone! Leave me alone! Stop it!
So that's near the end. Now the movie ends with the cops showing up, and they discover Art chewing on Victoria's face as she lies motionless on the ground. The cops draw their guns, and Art has his gun. By the way, his wild card is the gun. It's very surprising. After all we see him do with rusted old tools, he pulls out this gun. So Art looks annoyed. He's like, okay. And he takes his gun and opts out. So then we see a man and a woman bring two cadavers, supposedly Art and one of his victims, to the morgue. They quickly explain the situation to the coroner, that it was a murder-suicide, and as they leave, the coroner decides to look who's in the body bag to see who caused all this havoc. Once the coroner is left alone, lights go out, and we hear screaming and voices and noises coming from the stereo and from the phone. Lights flicker on and off. Eventually it stops, the lights turn back on, and everything's back to normal, and Art's arm flies up and starts choking the coroner. Poor guy. And at this point, obviously, I realized, okay, this is supernatural. I thought maybe this was just some crazy guy dressing up as a clown and killing people, but no, we're dealing with something supernatural.
Supernatural? No, supernatural.
Then the film skips ahead a year. We see a man and woman talking to a doctor while another woman is sitting in the wheelchair between them. And we don't get too much information other than the woman has been there for a year recovering. And as the man is wheeling the woman in the wheelchair out, we hear the doctor say, good luck with your interview later today. So this is Victoria. So obviously we know earlier on that Tara was killed, but I kind of figured that Tara was going to be the final girl, that she was going to be the one coming out. Obviously, halfway or so we realize that's not going to happen. It's probably just me. I got so confused about the timeline, but in Terrifier 2, seeing this movie compared to Terrifier, I personally get the timeline a little better, and of course, that just may be me. Alright, so now I get to talk about Terrifier 2, which is my favorite out of all these movies. Terrifier 2 was released in 2022 and directed by Damien Leone. And of course, we have David Howard Thornton, who made art. I mean, he made art what it is, I should say, with his acting. Terrifier 2 picks up exactly where Terrifier left off, and in this scene, Art really looks terrifying. I mean, he can be creepy in some of the scenes, but in this scene, he really looks terrifying. And the way this movie mixes in comedy with blood and horror is actually pretty good. Art sees himself in the mirror, he notices eyes missing, he's got this hole in the back of his head. He still manages to write his name in the mirror in blood, at least it's not fecal matter this time.
Look on the bright side!
And eventually we learn how he reassembles himself, apparently, because he took the eye from the corner and popped it in his own head. So I can't show all that I would like to show because, you know, YouTube standards have to remove a lot.
Maybe the missing scene was a love scene.
Hopefully you're an adult and understand all this is fake. No one's hurt, fake blood, we're all good. There's actually a scene in a laundromat. Art walks in, all bloody, and there's a man asleep at the entrance. Art takes off his bloody clothes, puts some in the wash, puts in the change, sits down and reads a paper, and he's silently laughing at this article about people being killed in a car accident because he's just freaking evil. So then Art stops and he looks over and there's this little girl sitting in the room in a clown costume just staring at him and smiling. He stares at her and she smiles and waves and he kind of smiles and waves back. You know, it's a polite thing to do. And there's just this black fluid that's coming out from under her seat where she's sitting. I don't know why excrement is a big thing with these evil clown entities, but it is. It's there. So the little girl gets up, she walks up to Art, she starts poking at his face and his new eyeball, and she starts playing patty cake with him. At this point, the guy wakes up and he sees a naked bloody Art playing patty cake with his invisible friend. Now he should have ran out that door, and maybe he tried, but if he did, he was not fast enough. Also, the soap did a great job removing the blood stains. I mean, he could do a commercial for that. So eventually reduced to Sienna, her brother Jonathan, and their mom Barbara. They're sitting together having a little family meal, and eventually Sienna mentions that her brother Jonathan wants to dress up as the Miles County Killer, aka Art the Clown. Now that happened a year before. There's actually one scene where Sienna says, "You don't see people dressing up as Charles Manson or Jeffrey Dahmer, do you?"
Yes, you do.
Then the kid says, technically Charles Manson never killed anybody. That boy is correct. Eventually we also meet Sierra's friends, Brooke and Allie. Allie's the girly girl, seems really nice, and Brooke is the one who's probably a little more of a troublemaker. I like her though.
That bitchy talk show host?
Yeah, that bitchy talk show host totally got her face torn off.
What? Hi, excuse me, can you mind your own business, please? Thank you.
And eventually they talk about what they're going as for Halloween, and Sienna is going as a character that her father would draw for her before he died. I'm going to say it takes some real skill to fabricate some suits and things like that. Like cosplayers, you have my respect. And while I wish I can put so much more in this video, I can't because YouTube will shut me down so fast, not only for the gore, but for copyright, and I'm trying not to do that to my channel right now, so it happens. But I just wanted to give you a suggestion on whether or not you should see Terrifier 2. Like I said, I'm not a blood and guts person. I adore horror. Horror is my thing. I love psychological horrors too. But to me, these movies and Terrifier 2 is just paying their respect to the 80s slasher films. And there are actually a lot of funny scenes in Terrifier 2, but there's one scene that is incredibly torturous, but to me was funny, And I don't want to give anything away, so I won't, but if you've seen this movie already, if you've already seen Terrifier 2, you know what I'm talking about when I say the bedroom scene. When you think Art is done, he comes back with salt and bleach. And it's like, that's a salty bitch move right there, Art. That was petty, but that was hilarious because it's so over the top. And there's another scene that I think is so funny where Art is at someone's house, so he's handing out candy to the kids that come to the door trick-or-treating. Art is actually holding the severed head of somebody, and this kid reaches back in the bowl to get more candy, and Art slaps his hand and slaps it away and says, 1 with his hand, 1. You only get 1 piece? You know, Art's just being fair. I do agree with him on that. But yeah, as much gore as there is in this movie, this to me is really a comedy, you know, because there are so many funny parts with Art the Clown. So you may disagree with me, I'm sorry, but there are a lot of hilarious parts. And that's really why I love the Terrifier series, is because of Art. Of course, we owe a lot of that thanks to the actor David Howard Thornton, who did a great job as portraying the silent killer clown. David had mentioned in an interview that some of his favorite actors were silent film stars, like Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Mr. Bean. And I never really thought of Mr. Bean as a silent film star, but now I will. So that was my take on it. And if you love horror and you love comedy, I think you'll love Terrifier 2 especially. There's a lot of humor in it, and I personally really enjoyed it. Honestly, it's really a comedy horror movie. Hopefully there'll be a 3rd installment, and I really hope that they give a little bit of a background to Art, but not too much, because less is more. I'm really interested in who the pale girl is, and if they want to tie up some loose ends, I'm 100% fine with that. But like I said, leave a little bit of mystery to Art, in my opinion. And let me know what you thought of it. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye.
It's intense.
Hello and welcome. This video is going to be a movie suggestion for you to see World War Z. It's a zombie horror flick from 2013 starring Brad Pitt. He plays Jerry Lane, who is a former United Nations employee. I'm going to try to make this as spoiler-free as possible. This is my movie suggestion video, so I try not to give too much away. If you're interested in learning more about the movie, there are many more videos on YouTube if that's what you're into. But I hope you watch the movie and come back and give me your impression of it. I would love to hear from you. I am a zombie enthusiast.
Zombies.
I don't necessarily know why, but I guess it's because you're killing the zombies, but you're not actually hurting anybody. You know, if nothing else, you're taking them out of their misery and you're stopping the spread of a deadly virus. So, you know, hey, it's a win-win. You don't have to feel guilty about it.
Guilty!
And anything that can bring something new to the table is always interesting to me. So I'll get to it. Hope you enjoy.
Oh.
Is it really fast?
No.
Does it live on the Great Plains of Africa?
Jerry?
Back in your car right now! Remain with your feet!
And of course, the zombie virus spreads throughout the city. And look at that guy. Look how he jumps. Whee! So they're pretty powerful, these zombies. Now, I know, first of all, yes, they're driving through a city. It should be traffic. But if I have to tell you not to take a zombie movie seriously, I'll tell you not to take a zombie movie seriously.
It's a movie.
Can be serious about the making of it, and if it's a good movie, but don't try to read too much into it. But it is a lot of fun. But these zombies are different. Just like 28 Days Later introduced us to fast zombies, these zombies are fast, but they also form like a big ant mound. I mean, look how they pile on top of each other. Tell me that's not at least a little impressive. And if you're a zombie enthusiast like me, I think you'll understand why I appreciate this so much.
Thank you, zombie boyfriends.
I wouldn't go that far.
It makes yet another zombie movie interesting. It brings in something different. And I'll be the first to admit, it's not a perfect movie. It seems to drag on in bits. There are a lot of things they could change. I mean, it does have the stereotypical, oh my god, you know, we're in peril and our daughter has asthma.
Leave the kid!
It's nothing new in terms of that. Every time I watch it, I'm like, wow, they're really lucky that this huge truck came in and just barreled through and just pushed cars out of the way so they could drive out. Obviously, not very realistic, but again, I reiterate, it's a zombie movie. You sit back and you have fun and you watch a zombie movie. That's what zombie movies are for, to escape reality for a little bit, have some fun, and just sit back and enjoy it. So I really hope this helps you decide if you want to watch the movie or not, or give you an idea for a movie to watch if you've never seen it. And as I mentioned before, the zombies are a little different. They're faster, not like the typical like Night of the Living Dead zombies. And I don't know if there's necessarily an intelligence to them, but there is an aspect to them that's a little different than the other zombie movies.
Can't help but feel a little rejected.
I don't want to give anything away, but you'll watch it and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So thank you so much for watching my video. I really appreciate it. You heard noises last night.
It was like there were two separate noises coming from two layers of space over here. The other one was like a cackling. It was a total cackling, man.
Hello, today my video is going to be about the Blair Witch Project. It's a horror movie from 1999 and it actually started the whole found footage genre of horror films. I'm making this as spoiler free as possible, so you're not gonna hear about what happens at the end. I also included chapters so you can skip ahead to where you like. The story follows 3 student filmmakers as they travel to Burkittsville, Maryland so they can interview the locals about the legend of the Blair Witch. They also go hiking and camping in the woods to find certain areas where the legend claims certain things have taken place. The cast includes Heather Donahue as Heather Donahue, Michael C. Williams as Mike Williams, and Joshua Leonard as Josh Leonard. They all use their first names. The actors themselves knew the plot, they knew the story, but they were basically on their own and they would be left information on where to take the next scene. Now, when this movie was first released in theaters, there were complaints that people were getting sick.
Don't throw up.
Not like people were claiming they were getting sick during Terrifier 2, which, yeah, there's a lot of gore, but I don't think it really warrants being ill over it, but that's just me. They were getting nauseous, like seasick or car sick, because of the handheld camera. I guess it's a good thing I didn't see it in theaters because I get car sick like within 3 minutes if I'm not driving. Blair Witch was written, directed, and edited by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. According to my research, it was produced with a budget of less than $25,000, but earned more than $248 million in theaters worldwide.
Money, money.
I won't be giving away the ending because I want this to be as spoiler-free as possible. If for some reason you've never seen The Blair Witch, there are many people out there that complain about this movie. They say it's boring.
Boring. Boring.
To me, it's more about what you don't see than what you do see. I hope that you enjoy. The film starts off with informing us that in October of 1994, 3 student filmmakers disappeared in the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland, while filming a documentary. A year later, their footage was found. When this movie came out, so many people believed this story was real. First, we meet Heather, who's kind of the brains behind the whole documentary, and she explains that she'll be out of the comforts of her home for the weekend to film this documentary. She has a couple books she's going to show us, How to Stay Alive in the Woods, always good, and an old book about the story of what happened at Coffin Rock, and a field notebook, and then we meet Josh.
Hey, it's Mr. Punctuality! How are you this morning?
Tired.
Same.
So I got the CP up.
Good. Come on, come on. I can see you. Okay, we don't want to language.
So where's Mikey at?
We have to go get him.
I guess you're Mike.
Eventually we meet Mike, and the whole crew is set and ready to go to Burkittsville to record the documentary of the Blair Witch. We're getting a close-up on the marshmallows. Listen, people, it's the late 90s, okay? Not everybody had a phone in their pocket like we do with our cell phones. This is why I think a lot of people tap out. They're like, this is boring, and they stop watching. Just keep watching. Just trust me.
Watch!
They then stop at a diner, and this is when they start interviewing the locals about the Blair Witch rumors and the stories that they heard growing up as a kid.
That actually sounds kind of familiar. My older sister went to Blair High School.
That's not the same!
Blair Witch. Several times.
Yeah, it's a story my grandmother used to tell us all. Make us go to bed early.
Sort of in the winter, I guess, the fall or the winter 1940, some of the young kids started to disappear. And finally, one day, old Mr. Parr come down into the market and said, I'm finally finished. They searched his house and they found the bodies of 7 kids from the area.
He would kidnap the kids by twos. He would have them go down to the basement, and one child he'll have facing the corner of the basement while he kills the second child because he didn't want any eyes on him while he was doing this. And then he would take the child facing the corner and do the same to him.
There was this old woman, Mary Brown.
Mary Brown?
Yeah. And she was kind of crazy lady.
How was she seen by the community?
Crazy.
That's it, the American flag. I'm not even sure how I pull this open.
So they do talk to Mary Brown, and she is coming off as a little unstable, but hey, aren't we all?
Really kind of scary story. Watching my pool and looking up at the sky. It was like a woman. Then she opened up her shawl.
And what was under there?
And under it there was hair on her body like a
So she was...
Bet she's not in the film business, man. Can you imagine?
She thinks she is in the film business. She also says she's a ballerina and that she's a scientist who does research at the Department of Energy.
They're being very judgmental. How did they know she wasn't a ballerina?
Rude.
So they pack up, leave the car on the side of the road, and they send out camp. And it's just hiking shenanigans, camping, you know, tensions run a little high, especially between Mike and Heather, because Heather does have the map and she says that she knows where she's going. Apparently she got a little lost in the woods.
Damn fool kids will never learn. What makes you say that?
Now, at this point, I'm going to mention something really quick. If you're the type that tends to get bored easily, and I don't mean anything by that because I tend to get bored easily too, unless it's something I'm really interested in.
I need a nap.
If you're in for the long ride, hey, watch this movie and enjoy it.
Went into the woods prepared to find death. What they found was a desecration of humanity at the site which trappers have often referred to as Coffin Rock.
They camp out and they hear some noises in the middle of the night. Josh and Heather both go out to investigate, and of course Heather is yelling,
"Hello?"
Which I'll never understand. In real life, if someone is making some noise around my tent, if I yell hello, if it's an animal, it's not going to respond. It's probably just going to attack me if it's big enough. If it's a human being, he is not going to respond. And if it's a ghost or a witch, yeah, no, there's no point in yelling that. The next night, they hear the noises again. And this noise, it kind of sounds like maybe someone stepping on sticks. And early on, when this happened the first night, Heather was making fun of Mike because he did not want to leave the tent. He was like, you guys go investigate, I'm staying here.
Michael, are you saying you're not coming down? Because you're scared.
Because I don't hear anything anymore.
Because you could not deny hearing it. Get your ass out. What's the big deal?
I would be the exact same. I am not investigating anything. My ass is staying in the tent. They wake up the next morning to find 3 piles of rocks around their tent. Which, by the way, they had said that Mary Brown had mentioned something about piles of rocks. So maybe they should listen to that crazy lady a little more after all, huh? Now, at a certain point, though, we do realize that something is going on because they were traveling in one direction, and yet they go across the same stream that they already went across. So it's like they're going in circles, even though they should be going in one straight line. To me, Josh is the realist. Like, he's realistic about this. He's like, listen, once we don't come back.
Because at this point, when you're not home today, when I'm not home today, people are going to start noticing. Like, my girlfriend's definitely going to notice that I'm not back today. But, you know, if I just get back, like, don't get back, period, and I don't call, she's going to notice, which means that by tonight, if we haven't found shit, someone's going to be looking for it.
Now, this is probably one of the scariest parts to me, except for the very end. And so there's a little bit of a spoiler here, but not much. They wake up in the middle of the night and hear some noises once again. But these noises are different. This sounds like children crying and screaming, so they run.
Jesus Christ, look, it's... Oh, Jesus Christ.
Let me get my jeans on. Take the video camera.
Watching the end still gives me chills, again, in broad daylight. And I know that on YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff you kids are into nowadays, any 12-year-old can make their own little video, do a handheld thing, and so this might not be impressive to you, but it really was, especially back in the day, but it still freaks me out today.
Scary stuff just scares me.
Now, even if you've never seen the movie, surely you've seen at least a couple clips. One is going to be the stickman figures made out of twigs and branches hanging from trees in the middle of the woods.
Don't touch it, don't touch it. Ah, she's touching it.
Now there's another part too, which has been parodied many times.
I'm scared to close my eyes. I'm scared to open them.
God, that's so nasty.
So I'm not going to give anything away about mentioning it, but those two clips, if you're wondering where they're from, yes, they're from Blair Witch. So I'm not going to give away the ending. I would like you to watch The Blair Witch Project from 1999 and come back and give me your opinion on it. I know a lot of people, like I said, they either love it or they hate it. It's very unsettling, it's very uncomfortable, and yes, I scared myself. I love this movie, and it's scary to me.
I just wish my opinion mattered to you.
And no other movie was made this way. This handheld found footage.
Found it!
So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.
Can you hear me?
You need to watch The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It's a horror movie from 2005, and it cradles on the edge of supernatural horror film and courtroom drama. The main cast is Laura Linney, Tom Wilkinson, and Jennifer Carpenter. Laura Linney plays Aaron Bruner, who's a lawyer who's representing Moore, a priest who has been charged in the death of Emily Rose. This film is based on actual events that occurred in Germany in the 1970s. A young woman named Anneliese Michel passed away after experiencing exorcisms due to the fact that she and her family believed she was possessed by the devil. And the story was basically the same. This girl had visions and her behavior changed drastically. She would be barking under the table like a dog, eating dead bugs, a lot of things that the character does in the movie.
Father Moore is here.
Obviously, real life is a lot sadder because this actually happened to somebody, and yes, her family thought the best option was to have an exorcism. Well, they attempted that. Her health got worse and worse, and she eventually did die in real life. So technically, yes, this is pretty much based on a true story, but what this film does is bring up the possibilities. And so you can go in it being really realistic and say, okay, this girl had a mental problem. Her parents thought that due to their religious beliefs, exorcism was the correct route. And then you have the spiritual side or the supernatural side.
Supernatural? No, supranatural. That's like a whole other level above super.
Which would mean that she was possessed by the devil. So during the court case, the prosecution brings up the fact that Emily had a mental disorder. She was possibly schizophrenic, I believe is what they mentioned, and that she had seizures. And then you have others supporting the priest saying that they believe that she was possessed.
I must say that's quite a laundry list of this thing. I don't think possession is a typical experience. It is a scientifically verified, culturally universal one.
And another note they brought up is that even if she wasn't possessed, if Emily believed that she was possessed, this exorcism might help with her coping and believe that she is okay now, and that might help with the process of her getting better. And one of the things that I really appreciate about this movie that I really haven't seen in most other movies, to be honest, is that it allows you to come to your own conclusion. And there is some really freaky imagery in this. Jennifer Carpenter, man, she is perfect for this. But these faces that she made...
That's kind of creepy.
They didn't add a bunch of makeup or prosthetics to her face. I think they might have put in some contact lenses, but this is all Jennifer Carpenter.
The devil in the flesh.
Like, this is her face. She just contorts her face. And, you know, as much money as they spend on CGI movies, they don't have to. All you need is a good actor. There's a lot of unsettling scenes in here. They show what she sees. Like, she might be hallucinating. This is more along the lines of stuff that I like because it's very realistic, where they believe it's real or that she had a mental problem. And to know that somebody actually went through something similar to this in real life is just so sad. Now, what I really like about this movie is it actually offers two scenarios. Like, it will play out, okay, let's say she had seizures and she had a medical issue. She had, schizophrenia. In the film, they play that out as the prosecution is claiming this is what was wrong with her, and by doing this exorcism, you killed her. So we can look at it very logical that way. And then they offer the religious side, the spiritual side. So it's really interesting to me to have that viewpoint. You can look at it as a courtroom drama, or you can look at it as a possession horror movie. Honestly, for me, it's kind of both. Watching some of this stuff is kind of scary. I'm not saying I believe in possession necessarily, but I don't mess with it.
Begone, evil one!
So the whole movie basically takes place after the death of Emily Rose. We know that she has died, and so that is not a spoiler at all. I'm not giving anything away. We basically just look back and see what happened to her. It's all left to your interpretation of what you believe happened in the film, which to me is really great. I mean, I do love a concrete ending, like I do want answers, but I also like a film that makes you think. I mean, that's the whole point of a film, is to make you feel something, to give you some emotion.
She said the Virgin Mary spoke to her in the middle of a field.
Yes.
Please continue.
Why do I suffer like this?
Why did the demons not leave me tonight?
You will suffer greatly. But through you, many will come to see that the realm of the spirit is real. The choice is yours.
Not much choice.
One of the things that is brought up is 3 a.m. And I don't know if you've ever seen any other horror movie, but a lot of them mention 3 a.m. And there is a scene where Erin wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and so she's a little startled.
Can you hear me?
An alien!
That was freaky. What's the word? Word was with God.
The word was the
and
word.
the word
What
was
the
God.
word it was.
The bird. The bird is a word. The bird. The bird's a word.
And it's another situation in the movie where you come to the conclusion yourself. Is this coincidence or is something actually happening here? I believe this is the first time that I heard about the 3 a.m. thing when I first watched the film. I hadn't heard about it before. And so, of course, you know, if I wake up and it's 3 o'clock...
I'm scared!
I mean, the only time I really get up exactly at 3 o'clock in the morning is maybe, you know, my dog jumping out of bed or my cat throwing up. And if you have cats, you know what I'm talking about.
Apologies. Hairball. Meant no offense.
So speaking of cats, I gotta show you this one scene. It's supposed to be scary, but it just makes me laugh.
I'm gonna die the way God intended.
If you love horror movies, I mean, we all like good scares. I mean, I watch movies that I'm like, okay, this might scare me once, you know, and that's it. Because I know there's a lot of jump scares in there.
Knew where all the jump scares were.
But horror movies that stick with me the rest of the day or the next day or make me think about it later, to me, those are good movies. And so that's why I'm suggesting that you watch Emily Rose from 2005, and I want you to get back and give me your opinion in the comments. Let me know what you thought of it. Let me know if you thought it was scary. You know, it won't hurt my feelings if you say, oh, I wasn't scared at all. That's, you know, your opinion. That's fine. You're wrong, but that's okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm joking. I'm being funny.
I'm kidding.
I'm always interested in hearing about other people's opinions on movies, especially horror movies, because, you know, that's my thing. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a good day. Bye.